Welcome to the Active Hobo, where we tell stories because stories matter. We are joined by Dave George. I can't decide. Every time I message him, I'm like, is it Davey or David?
It's Dave, whatever you want.
No one's given you the Davey treatment yet.
Davey.
Depends if you're in the northern suburbs.
Depends how much you like me. Yeah, exactly. And I get George a lot.
Dave, thank you for coming and joining us. I really look forward to unpacking parts of your story. I think it's too long to condense into a single podcast. You're following a trend of recent times where we have absolute elite level cyclists that have done incredible things, which as South Africans just absolutely delights us. So look forward to delving into some of that. You spoke about a basic story arc. I think it would be cool if we may. Dave the child, Dave the racer, Dave the businessman, Dave the future. If we can dabble between those things. Yeah, absolutely frothing to get into some of the detail.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's long time in the making.
I need to just also just start by saying, I think this is an incredible. It's just started off as stories, but I think, in a sense, it's bringing the community together. Because, when we grew up, Nick, Malcolm, it was post-apartheid. And we had this sort of mentality of playing against each other, and no one really united and created an amazing force of South African cyclists. We had this mentality of playing against each other. And I think this telling of stories may be the catalyst that finally can. If I had one wish for South African cycling moving forwards, it would be that we could play together and not have this constant, silo of performance. And so thanks. It's a really useful resource, I think, for telling everyone's story.
It's very kind. Thank you. Appreciate it. Perspective already. I'm kind of looking forward to getting into these silos of battles because it certainly makes for good viewing. And having watched a few of the greats from your time, there's this little glint in everyone's eye, that little grin that's starting to form on your face when they think back to, that's motherfucker. There's some proper banter from back in the day.
True stories.
And it seems to be, I think we're in a golden era right now of cycling. I look at Byron's results, Stephen DeBott at Alula.
Yeah.
We certainly are living in...
Just acknowledge that, though, because you look at Byron and Stefan on the same team.
Yeah.
Training together. And Lucas Tars, who will own a little bit as well, because his dad grew up here, and I could remember training with his father. And so that's quite special that you've got two South Africans on the same team. That's like, when does that happen?
A new, very exciting team. That's
absolutely. And I think great both. Obviously Stefan has. He's flown below the radar, but he's had a long, good career. And I think Byron just works so incredibly hard and such a good kid. He really deserves that little bit of luck that I think he's about to have.
I wish that final stage, just that 10 seconds.
Amazing.
Magic.
Goosebumps.
Yeah. Not to mention Hathily, Luke Moy. There is definitely a golden era going on right now, which I think a lot of people are not as hyped up about as they should be. It's almost weird for me. Like, it's not, when the Springboks are winning, or even those bloody Proteas that are famous for choking every other tournament, there's this like hype that goes on. I'm not Drickus, great example. People get hyped. I'm not seeing wear something maroon for Byron Munson on Fridays, and I think there's Nick actually spoke about it a lot. He referenced, back then there was definitely media. People followed you guys to the races, the local racing scene. He describes it as like there was support, there was media, there was news. It was like stories were made, and then it just kind of went away. No one was making a fuss about this incredible stuff that happened, and everyone just kind of, put some leaves over it and just kind of left there. And that's what it needs. It needs a platform. It needs, because people don't know.
I think it needs somebody to put it all together. It's like, imagine if you had Byron, Stefan, Alan, all on the same team.
Yeah, and that would be
right.
You might know a thing or two about orchestrating something like that. Maybe that's a good one to end on, Dave the future. But your guys' era certainly was. People talk about, you're chatting to this morning, just the end of our Savage ride. Dave George, like, yeah, that was one of my icons growing up. Someone had mentioned the week leading up to Nick's, like, yeah, I had a poster of him in my cupboard. Now, I haven't been cycling since forever. It's like been 6 years. I'm almost grateful for that because there's this gap. Like, I just don't know. I don't know any of your Oakswear from your race days. Like, if you're not in it, you're not in it. And it's just like, no one knows these stories. Like, you go into them and it's like, you've got no clue just how incredible the things these people achieved were, how far they went, how great they did, like touring overseas and racing across Europe. Like,
incredible, yeah.
When do you hear of that kind of stuff? Like, you just don't. One, because there's no platform, but also
it's funny.
There was a lull where
a
that
memory
didn't
just
happen.
came to mind. The late Willie Engelbrecht. He showed me a picture once, and he said, "When it says 20 years ago today, you know you're getting old." And so yeah. So I mean, I experience in my business now. I almost expect people not to know me when they come in, which is it's a little bit refreshing because you could be Dave the business owner, and not just Dave the bike rider.
Yeah.
But it's interesting as time goes by. How this the story just gets left in the past.
One of my big driving forces, and I said this at the start of my chat with Nick, because I had no idea who he was, and then he works at Freewheel now, and the number of people that will walk in there, and this is no difference to you at Gear Change doing a bike fit for someone. You're sitting there and you're just like, you're somebody in a bike shop. And there was something about that just like really irked me. It's like, no, this is like, you've got no, at that point I had no idea what he had done. Probably, I don't think anyone has an idea of what you guys collectively and individually had achieved, which is, we'll get into.
Yeah.
And having gone through it, it's just like, know who you're chatting to, because you can actually have a very different conversation. Like, you come in there and you're asking about pedals. What you really want to do is try and get 15 minutes of this guy's time, have a coffee with him, and just be like, bro, tell me about that one time. Because the stories there are just like, and people are just completely...
I mean, I guess it comes back to what you're doing now, which is telling the stories. And
well, that was the drive force. That is why we were
important
so
resource,
charged to do this thing. It's like, if no one's going to do it, we'll fucking do it. Like, with no end in sight and no great financial model figured out for it, for the sake of just doing it. And I do think at some point that'll be worth something, but if it isn't, it's still worth doing. And it's
100%.
I thoroughly enjoy it. So again, it'll be the last time I say it, but thank you for coming here and being willing to share and tell all the different parts of your story, because it's an incredible one.
Great pleasure.
Speaking of, where does it begin? Where did you grow up? What was school like? And how the hell did you land up being so fast on a bike?
I grew up 500 meters from where I live now, in Rondebosch, Cape Town, and grew up in a relatively sort of high-performing family. My brother was a musician, and my middle brother, I'm the youngest, was just physically gifted at most of the things that he did, and so we were quite a high-performing family, and prep school at Sax. We lived in Johannesburg or Pretoria for a couple of years. And while we were in Pretoria, my dad was never a performance cyclist. It wasn't about racing. He's a doctor, he's a psychiatrist. We started going to the fun rides in what was Mainland Park, but it was the Ster-Kinekor cinema. So that was my first bike ride, was with a t-shirt and some shorts, and at the Ster-Kinekor cinema in Mainland Park. And then we moved back to Cape Town, and I can remember my dad riding a cycle tour, riding, not racing.
Good old cycle tour. It's woven in every story.
My old man did the first one, and he didn't finish it because he got a puncture and he regrets it. But I still have we still have the picture at the castle, and so those early memories of riding. And then when I went to prep school, enjoyed riding. Then I don't know, those who went to Sax will know that, or I don't know if they still do it. At the end of the sports day, they would have a bike race around the field, and so I came there with my
every sports day.
At the end of athletic sports day, the last race was a bike race.
Okay.
And barefoot bike, and absolutely slam dunk. And I guess the sense of achievement was super strong, because it wasn't really. I'm not in any way mainstream sport gifted. I'm not very good at throwing a ball or catching a ball, or
Okay.
I'm a little bit ADD. So my attention span to play cricket is zero. And so I guess a bit of a sense of achievement. That was the sort of early bite, and then
So you're telling me you won your first bike race?
I won my first bike race. And then my brother was very, very gifted musician and got a full scholarship to go to Bishops.
Okay.
And at that time, I can remember wanting to ride the cycle tour. My mum was obviously concerned about safety on the roads, and so my dad went and bought a tandem, a good old handsome tandem.
Yes.
And so my first cycle tour was on the tandem with my dad. It was a 315.
First cycle tour was a 315 on a tandem. That's not slow. How old are you then?
My 12-year-old son did a sub 3 last year.
Who's on the front?
Yeah, Dad.
How are your nerves with your kid on the back of a bike?
My nerves are fine, and he's a solid. Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Wow, that
Just
must be
loves it.
special.
Yeah, incredible. So tandem's really. So I think that tandem. We'll talk about it more in detail, but that's quite unique to South Africa. That's this sort of tandem thing.
Okay. Not going to see that overseas.
You don't see that overseas. You're not going to any bike race in the world. Doesn't matter mass participation or gravel or that's dead now by and large. Like the legacy tandems that lurk around here are fathers and kids riding tandems. The same one's been recycled over and over. Anyway, so there was a tandem, and then the next year I rode with my butts on the tandem, and then I started race. I can remember my first registered race. Was actually around the Rondebosch Common. There was a registered race around the Rondebosch Common at the time, a licensed criteria.
Oh, this is the golden days of racing in the southern suburbs.
Yeah. So that was my first licensed race, and again, under whatever it was, won that one. And you've talked about it a lot. In those days, the fun rides were here. Yeah. And so it was Constantia Village on a Saturday and Westlake on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's like you just can't even
race
begin to imagine
Chappies or the Bayside race would go through town and Camps Bay. I mean, you'll never get that again. Yeah. So that was a mate of mine, Peter Wheeler, and then I sort of got this itch to go do the licensed races. Lloyd.
Age range, like teens?
Must have been 13, yeah. So it must have been, 13, 14.
And who are you racing against? Other 13-year-olds?
So for me, it was the other 13, 14-year-olds, and there was Clive Subrex at the time. I don't think he races anymore. He was pretty explosive, and so he was like the golden boy, and then so quickly sort of rose to this sort of rivalry with him in the must have been under 14, I can't remember.
Okay.
And I can remember getting Lloyd.
Addictive to do racing at that age and win. I mean, that must be luck.
Well, it's validating, right? So there's suddenly I wasn't really any good at mainstream, and this is why I think schools undervalue the cycling clubs and the mountain bike clubs, because not everyone's mainstream. But I wasn't no A teams at school, but I went to 3 Olympics.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I had my whole career in sport, and there was nothing in my school years that kind of fostered that or nurtured it. So I can remember getting to Lloyd ride. Lloyd now works at Cape Cycles, and he's been there for years. And in his little mini, and driving to 2 bikes to some godforsaken place in Peniel, or to do registered races. In those days, they were 2:00 on a Saturday, right? So then lots of fun riding, and then the registered racing, and then track at the time was also huge, right? And so Tuesday nights was Belleville, Friday nights was either Greenpoint or Paarl.
Greenpoint, I can't imagine.
And then Saturday you would race again, So there were so many races at the time, whether it was the registered race on a Saturday, and so the season was quite continuous. And then in my generation, Doug Ryder and Mark Blewett, Moelman Velgemuth were a sort of 5-year, say half a generation ahead of me. And so they were the guys who were a little older than I was. and so they were my aspirational local guys.
Good ambassadors for the sport.
Yeah. I mean, it was what it was. So I mean, I would go, racing under 17, and I would race the elite.
Okay. How was that?
Yeah, so I mean, and then so quite quickly I was racing with the elites as even as a junior or under 16.
Okay.
And in those days, you could mix and match a little bit. So quickly I was racing above. And yeah, obviously there's no one in my family who was saying you need to do this thing, you need to go train. It was all self-motivated. There was no.
And what is the motivation at that point? So have you in your head, you're just enjoying winning and it's validating, or is there a part of you thinking this could be it?
How deep do we want to go?
Yeah, is that in your mind at that point, or you're just enjoying winning?
Everyone has an adaptive 5-year-old, right?
Yeah.
We're also it's a little bit deep. For me, it's always been my insatiable desire to be seen, right? And so suddenly you're doing this thing that allows you to be kind of validated and seen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known it at the time, but
yeah. All the wiser.
You go through school sport and you're not good at it, and so suddenly you find this thing you're good at. Also, being a little bit ADD, like you sort of scattered in your thoughts, but when you find the thing that you love, it's zero in. Yeah. So then lots of track racing. At a Lejeune,
cool.
And I had one of the first OCLV. I'm just finding the pictures. Treks. And then it got into sort of specialized track racing and road racing in the sort of under 16 junior categories. And obviously I realized that it was a good time trialer, and so it kind of zeroed in on pursuit, 3K pursuit, and a lot of track racing. And
that's extremely well supported at the time, right? I mean, you're not going there and there's like.
I say well supported. It wasn't well supported, but there was a lot going on. It was still very post-apartheid culture, right?
Okay. And is that excluding a lot of people? Is that
it was?
Is that the culture?
It was very sort of white Afrikaans culture. It was Wehrmacht was the Wehrmacht, or like the military. Teams were probably as close as we ever got to a national program, because the guys would go to the military and they would get support. So like Moorman and that whole generation, they went to the army, and they didn't go to the army. They went and they raced track, and
that's complicated because
Brigadier Arno Kombrink was the head of CSA, and he was the brigadier.
Very interesting. Okay.
Another story. Yeah. And so they got lots of privilege, and obviously they traveled a lot and they raced a lot. And during the sort of closed years of apartheid, we had Allied Tour, we had Boland Tour, we had Handsome Tour, and so because we were a closed environment, there was a lot going on. Actually, the guys had full calendars. It was.
What a missed opportunity to have expanded that, right? I mean, you've got this well-run
100%.
thing that you're doing.
Well, it was apartheid, so it wasn't inclusive of the whole demographic, and so it had to fall apart.
So you can't help imagine it wasn't, and you did include. That could be, anyway.
Well, maybe that's the future. Yeah, maybe that's somebody needs to lead that. Yeah, absolutely. And so. Yeah, so I mean that's there were races at the time that I aspired to. Giro del Capo. I was 16 and I really wanted to do the Giro del Capo, and I was good enough to do it because I was racing my contemporaries.
For anyone who doesn't know what Giro del Capo is, just quick.
It was a 5-day international stage race before the cycle tour, and in some years it included the cycle tour, and other years it finished the day before the cycle tour.
Became Tour de Cap for anyone who's done it in the last couple of years.
So there would be like a report tour in January, which was, it was iconic.
Yeah.
People used to come out to SA, Sean Kelly, to race a report tour on a fake identity so they could race the race. And so there was a report tour, again, this sort of very strong cycling culture. and then there was Urinal Capo, and then the season would progress, right?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, the likes of who came, Ulrich did the reporter, and Vinokurov, and
big names.
some big guys came and did, and also Urinal Capo, right? The report was still around, but it was on the wane a little bit. But I can't remember if I did one of the early reporters. Anyway, Urinal Capo was there, and I really wanted to race. I was ahead of myself, like push, as Dave does, and they wouldn't let me. And at the time, we were playing with all kinds of bikes, tandems and recumbents, and John Stegman is a story you need to tell one day, because John was a passionate architect, a little bit eccentric, who designed all of our bike paths in Cape Town. The blueprint for you need to go find John Stegman's blueprint.
Okay. Noted.
Yeah. So then I don't know, through Lloyd actually, because Lloyd Wright used to ride recumbents. Also a good story, and you won't remember, but he had this green recumbent that was imported from the US, and he would win the cycle tour every year on a recumbent.
Okay.
And finish first, yeah.
Oh, I can't even.
We'll have to go find
imagine.
the pictures.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Lloyd worked at Chris Williamson Cycles in Claremont, and as an appy, I went to work at Chris Williamson, and obviously built a friendship, and met John Stegman, and John would tinker with recumbents. I sent you the picture. And fairings, and like in his vision, cycling had to go this way. Like you could never have an upright bike forever. Like you had to go get these like more aerodynamic bikes, and it was super fun and interesting, and obviously at that time I was frustrated because I wanted to race, couldn't race, so I ended up racing recumbent.
Okay.
For a year or two in the cycle tour, which was fun, and good times. And then the moment I could do, obviously, the Urinal Capo, then I was all in.
Okay. There really was no let off from the moment you won at Sachs at the end of your athletics tour. That kind of was the last the world knew of Dave without a bicycle.
Probably until today, yeah, exactly.
And from a support structure point of view, in terms of your parents, were they like happy? He's not hooked on booze and drugs. Let the kid go. Let him race.
I mean,
probably
there wasn't. I mean, booze was around, but drugs probably wasn't a massive thing in our culture in the 70s and 80s. But my mom was obviously concerned because we were an academic family.
Okay.
And there was no blueprint for being a pro bike rider. Yeah, exactly. My mom was a music teacher.
Where's the middle child there? He has to go and do.
I'm the youngest, but yeah, I'm the
Oh, you're not the middle. Okay.
Yeah, I'm the youngest, yeah.
Oh, no, then you can do whatever you want. You've got like carte blanche.
And so there was a little bit of like push pull, like you need to go study, and through my school career academically, I never struggled to get it done, but I struggled to focus because it wasn't what I was interested in.
Sure.
And so my report is consistently the same. David needs to try harder. David needs to focus more.
Untapped potential.
Which is, and nowadays I see it in my oldest son is a little bit ADD, and obviously they understand it a bit better now. But in the old days, it's just throw something at you until you wake up. But I was drawing bicycles on my pad, I can remember watching Chris Boardman win the Olympics in Barcelona on his Lotus, and shows you the power of visualization.
Yeah.
I can remember drawing the bike in class.
No problem focusing. It's just what
on what I was focusing
on.
on. Yeah.
And at what point was there? Because obviously there has to be like a shift where this goes from, you're good, you're winning races, to I'm going for this thing. Was there a similar shift in terms of the sport from your parents? Like, okay, this isn't just some frivolous pursuits. Our kids got it. Like,
I guess you'd have to ask them. That. My dad was always very supportive, quietly supportive. So he wasn't he wasn't taking me to races and telling me what I needed to do. But he would always be sort of mindful. And if there was a sports science journal, he would subscribe to it. And financially, obviously, he paid, and it wouldn't have been possible if I hadn't come from a privileged
Mm.
home. So
So the reason I ask that is for there's a lot of, when I loathe excuses for anything in life generally, and there's a lot of if only, and if I, and I don't have, and so there are parents I meet, a lot of them, I know a lot of them, tip my hat to a lot of them that are like all in on their kids. It's like every waking moment. It's drive to the Fanzels, Dion, the most invested dad, Graham Williams. They will drive their entire weekend behind their kid, bring them here for a ride. Like they're just all in on them, and which is great. But there's a lot of people that I've met as well where they had none of that, and that also galvanized and was its own spark to creating toughness and to creating a desire to win. And it's just nice when someone who's achieved as much as you have has a story to tell. Like, God, my parents weren't doting around me and doing everything. Like, sure, they helped financially make things possible, but you don't need your parents doing cartwheels along the way.
No, and I guess like these sort of generational behavior patterns. Like my parents, my mom went to private school from Malawi. She went to Rodin from the age of 8.
Okay.
And so she never had a parent to dote over her, and so like it wasn't like so it wasn't a natural sort of expectation. So I can remember like wanting to go to these races, and I always had to get a lift, and like my parents weren't driving me to the races. But I got there anyway. I can remember like playing hockey on a Saturday in Milnerton and getting my bike and riding to Adderley Road to do a race, and then riding home on a Saturday.
Love it.
At 15, 16. And then hitching rides to the track, and I remember pushing my bike from Rondebosch to Greenpoint track on my road bike, pushing my track bike so I could go and do the track.
That's not close, huh?
Yeah.
The idea of track cycling in Greenpoint is quite something.
Incredible.
That would be
what an incredible resource that would have been today. Like, if we could have kept
had they known.
Had they known.
Okay.
So that was like obviously self-motivated and like very zeroed in, and I knew what I wanted to do. It was bizarre early.
Okay. Was there a defining moment where you had said to yourself, "This is it. I'm going pro. I want to race"?
It was quite young. I mean, I knew quite young. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember the moment, but I knew. I already knew in high school like nothing was going to stop me.
Love it. And was there a defining breakthrough moment where that started to become a reality? I mean, it sounds like you've been winning races from young, so you knew what it.
I can't remember the exact because I'll have to go back and look. But obviously, riding the Giro del Capo and immediately being top 10, top 5, I can't remember. Used to start here on the bridge, Ladies Mile, time trial to bottom of Kopseweg and back onto the highway, right?
What?
Helicopter.
No, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
We really are slumming it in
right
2025, 26.
And so that was, and I get goosebumps. How incredibly important are those experiences? And if you're not having those experiences as a child, how are you going to be inspired to? Which maybe is, it's why we get the likes of Alan coming through now, is because we had World Cups in Stellenbosch, right?
Yeah.
So so those were my, I could remember the helicopters and the smell, and watching Willie Engelbrecht and Andrew McLean rolling down the ramp here on Ladies Mile by the engine, right?
I can't know, that's...
So then, that was obviously what I aspired to do and got into, and then quite quickly was competing for Giro. And there was a Bourland Tour at the time, which was in October, and the Bourland Tour was like season closer. So they'd always used to attract MG Techno Gym. Onse came out.
Okay. All the way here?
All the way here.
I can't imagine that. It's like,
yeah, crazy,
why?
Right?
Because it's good riding, because...
they had agency, the races had agency, and then so this legacy of Report Tour and people wanting to come out, and at the time, Cipollini used to come out and train, and the whole of T-Mobile or Telecom used to come out and train. CSC would come out and train with Bjarne Rees. They would stay at Spear, and so there was a lot going on. Yeah. And I can remember doing one of those first early Giro de Capos and being in a breakaway with Jens Voigt and Doug Ryder. Yeah, my gears, my derailleur stopped working. I can't remember how it ended, but so there was
yourself moment, right? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So that was my early sort of international,
Yeah.
I guess, validation. So there was Boilan Tour, and I can remember Doug won it. So it was Doug's probably his biggest moment.
Okay.
Because Kiko Garcia, Johan Brunel, Alberto Eli, there were some
Deep
proper
field.
So yeah, there were some proper names there. And I managed to finish, said to be corrected, third, also on the podium.
Okay.
And that would sow the seed later for Johan Brunel, you know, a conversation that led to signing for Postal. But and also Alberto Eli became later in my career became a. So again, those experiences were pivotal to like, and maybe that's what's not happening today. Is like you'd meet Alberto, and then you would make a relationship and connect and
exposure.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
Literally exposure.
And then there was Handsome Tour at the time as well, right? So the Handsome Tour they would start in Barberton, right? I don't know if you remember the jock.
No.
So it would start in Barberton and
all.
it would go Nelspruit, Kaap Maiden, back to Barberton. That was stage one, right? incredible riding, like.
Yeah.
And again,
Good roads, fast. What distances were you guys?
I mean,
doing?
they were
What was the
beautiful
typical-
roads. Those were big. I mean, that's a big day. The jock was Barberton to Nelspruit. You would stop and spike your insulin and have something to eat, and then you would race to Kaap Maiden and spike your insulin, and then you would race back to Barberton. And that was 3 stages. It was sort of iconic at the time.
So a lot of the criticism we get at the moment is our races are too short. We're doing 100k races, and it's like no one's racing 100k.
Which is where the affinity for gravel, I think, is coming. Is now we're racing proper 5-6 hour races. Yeah.
Oh.
So there was Handsome Tour, and I can remember being in the break again, Willie Engelbrecht and Andrew McLean and Manny Heymans in a breakaway. And so that's again they were icons of the era. They were like report tour winners, and Andrew was a report tour winner, and Willie obviously was Willie.
Willie's honestly a goat. Like
yeah,
there's someone.
Yeah. True story. What a sad story.
Yeah.
And then I can remember. So then the next day it was Nelspruit to Graskop, staying in the municipal campsite in Graskop. Like I can still remember the ticky box, phoning your stuck on the ticky box.
Baby.
And the campsite's still there. Yeah, exactly. Putting your tickies in. And then the next day was like Robert's Barnett, Robert's Pass, and I fell off, went over the bars, and that was the end of my race. But those were like the early years of like stage racing. When we were young, I was 17, 18. And so that was like early years. Still a lot of track racing. So a lot of like, I mean, those are the track is your skills, right? And then I was like junior time trial champion, SA pursuit champion, points race. So we raced a lot on the track. So lots of. I've got a box full of SA medals.
I'm gonna ask for pictures of those.
Yeah,
You know the story.
All
good validations reminding you, I've got this, I can perform, I'm at the level.
100%, yeah. Obsessively at it, yeah. I can remember being at Krugersdorp track. I mean, I don't even know if that's still a thing. It's probably growing weeds now. Jacques Louis van Wyk, who runs J&J, who like, you want to race the Madison together? I don't know if many people probably don't even know what the Madison is.
Never heard of it.
You race around the track, and it was such a strong. It was strong. It was a really important discipline.
Yeah.
Race around the track, and then you would do 4 laps, and then swing your partner in, right? And then he would race 4 laps, and then you would swing your partner in.
Yeah.
It still goes on as a 6 days today, but I mean the track's obviously dying as a. And so we were like, oh, we need to ride Madison. Do you want to ride Madison? Yeah, cool, let's do it. And then we rode together and lapped the group and won SA Elite Madison Champs. Yeah, it was quite cool. And then, so lots of track racing, and then like, what am I going to do after school? And again, post 90, I matriculated in 93.
Okay. Interesting time to be alive.
Correct. There wasn't a clear stepping stone. Yeah. What am I going to do? Phil Leggett spent a lot of time here.
Okay.
And he had a house in Somerset West, and he would come out to cycle tour often, and he would report. He would do report tour. He would call for reporter, like announcing reporter, and Giro del Capo, and so he was this iconic voice here too, which is quite unique because he was the voice of cycling, but he had a strong connection to South Africa. And so I don't know if it wasn't an email because there weren't any. Whether it was a conversation or a fax, in those days there were faxes. I'll tell you that story just now. Hey Phil, I'd like to go race in Europe. Can you help me out? And he very generously arranged for me to go race with a team in the UK, club team in Winchester. And interesting story because I stayed with Anthony McCrossan, the McCrossan family. And Anthony now is the announcer for Giro d'Italia and Tour de France.
Crazy.
And so I stayed with his parents, and went to races with Anthony. And
still in contact? You still?
Not really.
Okay.
I lost a lot of contact after sport because of all the I don't know, the shit that used to yuck. Yeah. But if I see him today, we'd have a good conversation. Yeah. And then I was still 17 when I left school, so I was actually still a junior.
Okay.
And this is a story that you should tell too, because Colin's still around. Colin Sturgis grew up in the south of Joburg with his father, who worked for the Rand Water Board.
Okay.
British. They weren't South African, they were British. And then Colin was a good bike racer and grew up here racing bikes, and then went to the UK, and he was world pursuit champion.
Oh wow.
And raced for Tulip with Greg LeMond and PDM.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, he grew up in SA, just like a lovely guy. Anyway, somehow I got connected with Colin, and again, I'm not sure how we tied it, I can't remember, it was that long ago. And so I went to stay with Colin, and he coached me at the Leicester Velodrome. Must be 94. To race pursuit. So I lived in their house, in a little in their study on the floor, and as one does.
Things people do for the passion.
And I can remember he had it was a real British home, like row house with a shed in the end, and like with all of these bits and pieces in there, like. And a world champion jersey,
nuts,
and like and campy cranks and disc wheels, and like all of those things you grow up aspiring to have, And so Cole, he was incredible. Like, it was an incredible piece of mentorship. So I actually won the British Pursuit Champions. Got the picture somewhere. I broke the British Pursuit record, Chris Boardman's record, and was junior pursuit champion on the track in Leicester in 1994. And at that time, guys went on to be Olympic champions. The Britain at some point got three medals in the Olympics in total, and they were like, what the fuck? If we don't invest in this thing, and so they really then zeroed in on Olympic sport and on track cycling in particular, because it was quantifiable, and what you put in is what you get out.
Okay.
And so I can remember Doug Daly and some guys that Brian Steele, like they all went on and won Olympic medals, but it was sort of pre the investment, and so I had this sort of tough push-pull, like do I stay in the UK and be British because I got a British passport?
Handy.
Or do I go back to SA and deal with what you know? And so I chose obviously to go back to my culture and deal with the shit rather than the one you don't. Which in
Africa's a
hindsight,
magic place.
yeah. Oh, well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's who we are. Like, I don't think Chris Froome ever felt British.
Yeah.
Because he grew up here, and so he doesn't. You can ask him, but I don't think he ever felt like he was a part of the British cycling.
I'd love to ask him. Get him in the chair. That would be special.
There's a story. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few segments around Joburg where I grew up, and I was like, who's this fucking Chris Froome? Like, who names himself Chris Froome? And is a good cyclist, because you look at some of the segments, and it's like, no shit, it's Chris Froome. It's like, what is he doing here? And it's like, no, man, you used to, like, do you not know the story? Because you don't know the story.
Sure.
I can guarantee you, a lot of people watching this will not know how anchored in South Africa he was.
Into this, let's keep telling these stories, because they're so important. Yeah.
Because he's, I mean, this is largely, I would say, an extension of who he is.
Sure.
And how, I mean, his, the published stories that you know about how he got in and hacked into an email and MacGyvered himself up to the level that he got to. I mean, it's like, I did some crazy shit back then. But yeah, it's definitely one for another day. Yeah.
And then, so committed to SA, and obviously then there was still track pursuit, but there was no funding. And in this era of, like, it was the Berlin Wall had just fallen. I can't remember what year it was. And then all of those coaches, Heiko Sosvedal, and they were all hunted by the Aussies to go coach their national team. All the swimming coaches, athletic coaches, all went to Australia and to countries where they were really focused on Olympic sport. So the Australian Institute of Sport really invested in.
I've been there, it's amazing.
It's incredible. But at that time it was the beginning, and so they really invested in their talent. And on the track, cycling is the only sport where you can measure power, actual work. So it's quite quantifiable, and so they really knew what the number was, and so they just went and did it. And then we were always competing against that level of organization on the track. I remember JP Van Sale, who probably also another story. He lives in Still by now. You should chat to JP. Incredible story. So JP had he knocked on the door of medals in the kilo and sprint at a world level.
Yeah, which I think people don't fully appreciate the margins and how big of an achievement
and
that
so
is.
JP was a guy that also his father was very invested, and they were very close. They were good buddies, and his dad just gave him everything financially and his whole commitment to, which was quite special. Yeah, so I don't think it was toxic in any way, but so JP was kind of like winning on the track, but there was no support. Like, there was no structure or coaching, so we didn't have a chance really. We were just hacking.
Yeah.
I would go to the track and drive in my Rover 3500 to Paarl, and then do my standing starts around the track on my own, and then drive home again.
Yeah, and you're competing against. It reminds me of that Rocky. I don't know which one it is, Rocky 1 or 2. The Russian's like all scientific and whatever, and he's like jogging and running up and down stairs, and it's all like romanticized in the movie.
Yeah.
But in the reality, in the world of cycling, like, Rambo doesn't win.
No.
Or Rocky doesn't win.
100%. And then so like small tangent, because I think it's important. Aerodyne was a composites company in Somerset West that was manufacturing aeroplane seats for Concorde.
Okay. Crazy.
And they somehow, at the British Cycling, had designed the Lotus bike, Lotus first generation bike, and they were trying to manufacture the second gen bike, and Lotus had subcontracted Aerodyne to make these incredible aero bikes. I don't know if you've seen them. I should have bought one. And so then my sort of obsession with time trialing and pursuing and equipment and being detail driven kind of grew. And we'll go to Aerodyne and get the bike and position, just sort of locking into making. I remember having a set of bars made by Bruce Hamilton, who I still see in the shop sometimes, and he was a windsurfer maker, and he made me some beautiful extensions to make it more aero. But we had no chance, yeah. And so I knocked on the door at a couple of World Cups on the track in the pursuit, and then went to the Olympics in 96. 96 must have been, because it was 96, 2000. Doug was on the road, Blaine Wickner, Erica Green on the mountain. That was the first mountain bike. Ilana, no, not Ilana, Josiah Tagwani won so it was like the first early Olympics. There was a real sense of like, we're going to grow and do this thing in South Africanness, and that just quietly, as the money got misappropriated, that just fell off a cliff.
How was that Olympics though? How'd you do?
I mean, at the time, yeah, it was right at the peak of Bjorn winning the Tour, and there was a lot going on, and I just got completely reamed. I think I came 15th.
Good experience or not?
But no, incredible experience, incredible experience, because there was this like, it was like opening ceremony, closing ceremony, like your first Olympics, you go and you experience it. But then the next one you want something more.
Yeah.
And so then it just became increasingly frustrated. So the next couple I did, it just got more and more frustrating because we weren't getting the support. And my ambitions were always there, and still are always there, way above reality, Anyway, and then I realized like I need to do something special to progress to where I wanted to be, which is the Pro Tour, which wanted to race pro. And they had just flipped the like junior, and then it was amateur, and then it was pro, right? So Jan Ulrich, I think, was the last amateur world champion.
Okay.
And that was, you didn't have a pro license, you were amateur, it was any age. And then they said, right, we're going to make an under 23 category. And so then you got junior, under 23, and then once you were 24, you had to race with the elites. And so I really focused my energy on the time trial at World Champs. Philly Engelbrecht was fresh off his career, and he was kind of searching for things to do, and he was the manager. And it was in San Sebastian. The year before, I'd fought really hard to be on the team, and I'd got overlooked. Again, there was politics. And
Sure.
so I started first. It was a little bit like when you go to Worlds now, and it's like the Egyptian and the Ethiopian starting first. That was us. I started first, and I sat on the hot seat until the last two guys came across the line.
Shit.
And so won a bronze at the first world medal. I think in the modern era, I'd have to go back and look into like pre-apartheid to see there were some Olympic medals, and
it's a big deal.
And that was a big deal, right? Yeah, goosebumps. So I can still smell and remember that to this day. And then like, what if things had been a little different? What if I'd had time splits, and what if I could have been world champion? What would have cascaded from there? Yeah. Anyway, so then, at the time I didn't have a manager. There were no managers. There was no stepping stone. It wasn't like, go and talk to this guy and he'll help you get a contract. And so I reached out to Claudio Corti at the time, Seiko, and they had a little bit of interest, and then I just faxed. I can't remember if I wrote it or if I typed it, but in those days you'd send a fax and hope that somebody faxed back, right?
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Facsimile. So I remember faxing a lot of people all on my own, and again, like in hindsight, if I just had somebody to help me and guide me, it might have been a bit easier. And then a couple were interested actually, Carrera Jeans and Seiko, and then Onse also replied, and US Postal. But they're all kind of like, it's late in the season because Worlds was late, and every team has the whole world of talent to choose from. And here's a South African kid who's just done one thing. And so we needed to see a little bit more. And then the year after that, actually, SA Cycling put a sort of national team together to go race in Europe with a guy called Guido Eichelbeck.
Okay.
He was a bandit. in Cologne. And so we had it was Doug Ryder, Andrew came along, Louis, was Nick there? Sorry, Nick, if I'm not seeing you clearly. Blaine Wickner, Jacques Foulard, and Guido had arranged a little bit of money from this bike company called Schauf, and they were farm gates, absolute dog shit. So we had these dog shit bikes and a van which had South Africa on the side, and then we would go and do like the peace race and Runtumkern, and we stayed in his basement. He obviously took money for us being there, and
Sure.
we lived in his basement because there was only so much accommodation on the floor. This is a real on the floor story. It's true. On the floor. And I think Andrew had arranged Cytomax as a sponsor. So like we got planks and put like planks on it because it was dank. It was in the basement. Put planks on the Cytomax cans. You don't even know what Cytomax is.
Go pro, they said.
Exactly. And we were sleeping on the planks. Jock Green. Yeah, Jock. You got to chat to Jock. Yeah.
Please tell me there's some sort of picture of this somewhere.
Jock has the pictures. Jock has the pictures, yeah. So that's why I said chat to Jock, because I know that he was the one who took the pictures, and he said to me, one day you're going to thank me, we're going to look at these pictures together.
Please contact him with that picture.
And he's one of the few guys that I still keep like an authentic friendship with, yeah. So yeah, Jock, we need to talk to Jock because he's got the pics.
Yeah.
So then, so it was Cytomax cans, and it was a mess. Yeah, we were on shit bikes, and I talk about marginal losses, not marginal gains. Like no direction or coaching or leadership. But we were there, and we did some races and raced in Belgium. And then kind of the sort of talent, Moorman and Doug and Mark, and kind of started to disappear. I mean, they're real talent. And Malcolm was winning a lot in Europe at the time. He was his prodigy. Malcolm was the prodigy. He'd go to Belgium and win 10 races.
Which is, having now listened to a few of these stories, it's like unheard of. It's really tough. Incredible.
And then again, another sort of close father-son relationship. His dad was there and his parents were there, and they were so invested in him. Yeah. So Mal was really gifted. And it came easy? It came quite easy to him. Like, and he could finish a race and win a race.
Yeah.
And won a lot of races.
Is there anything you'd chalk that up to? Talent.
Those like goosebumps
Instinct.
again. Like Malcolm was incredibly talented and at finishing a race, instinctive and like hungry, as was Moorman Welgemuth. I mean, you like Moorman and Doug, and yeah, they were all talented, but there was nobody pulling it together, and there was no future. No one could see a future. It was scattered. It's one thing I'm mindful of now in my business. Do the people in my business see a future, right? So they couldn't see a future. I could see my future visually because that's just how I'm wired. But if you don't have a clear path to a future, eventually, if you've got good people around you, they're gonna say, "Hey, Dave, you need to stop fucking around here now and do something real." Yeah. And so the pull to do something real versus seeing a future. And so a lot of the talent disappeared. That was a Commonwealth Games year. I went to Commonwealth Games and won a medal. Stuart O'Grady, Aussie, it'll come to me. It was quite a Vogel. It was quite a rich Aussie, sort of iconic Aussie era as well. Neil Stevens.
Okay.
Neil's the coach of UAE now, or the director at UAE now. And so it was a big deal. That was the first cycling Commonwealth Games medal in history.
Yeah. You said very casually. I'm like.
Yeah. And so that was where I could really focus and control the outcome. That was good for me, like, because I knew what I needed to do, did the thing I needed to do, and got the result. And then it was in Kuala Lumpur, and we spent a lot of time there. And so obviously there was a little bit of detraining because you're in a village environment, and then there was the jolt afterwards and a party, and that was the last time they allowed alcohol in the Commonwealth Games village because it was a mess. there was TVs being thrown out of 10-story buildings, and
Oh, that is
and then
wild.
it's again that Aussie era, which doesn't exist today. Like we had fun,
Yeah.
and they would go hard, right? There
Yeah.
was a lot of booze
Spoke our
after,
player.
like exactly. I mean that's like Stu O'Grady and
I think the F1 era, people talk
Baden,
about
Baden
similar
Cook,
thing. Yeah.
like they were hard characters. Baden was a part of Factor in the early years and won the green jersey at the Tour de France.
Sure.
But he would go home and just like lose his shit. And so then it was like really hot, and then okay, cool, it was world champs in Maastricht. So it was a little bit of detraining, and I got to Maastricht, and obviously I'd won a medal before, so I really wanted to be world champion. It's my last chance to be world champion. And then I can like just remember getting to a certain point and being like, my legs just froze, and I was closer to being world champion that year than the year before. I think it was 15 seconds to was it Thor Hussoft? Can't remember. It's a French guy. So like 15 seconds to world champion, right? Again, like what would that have changed?
Yeah.
Those 15 seconds. And now I know like Aerostock 10 watts, right? So how flippantly we gave shit away there. Anyway, so like I was fourth, and it was quite a close first five. There was like Mick Rogers and Andreas Klurden, some big names. I'll find the results sheet for you somewhere. Anyway, it was enough to show a little bit of consistency, to have a bit better conversations with people. And I picked up a conversation with Johan Brunel.
Okay.
And managed to sign a 1-year deal with US Postal for 1999, which was a big deal. It wasn't the team that it became. It was Postal was around Andy Hampson.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, Andy Hampson won the Giro d'Italia, and he was retiring, and so it was like the sort of bad news bears of American cycling. There was Saturn and US Postal, and
Okay.
so it wasn't the team that it became.
But there's a vision at that point already where they're saying we have a goal and we want to get somewhere.
Lance had cancer, and again we all know the story. So he had cancer. He was with Coffee D's. He was world champion, and he was this abrasive 19, 20-year-old, super sharp, but as driven as fuck, right? So he had cancer, and obviously had this humbling experience, and was on his way back. And the year before, he'd finished third at the Vuelta. And so obviously they had enough belief in themselves to build out a team around Lance to try and win the Tour de France.
Now, at the time that you're getting involved there, this is the vision
For me,
for the team.
that was a vision for the team. I can remember it in training camps.
That's a pretty big thing to be buying into. I mean, that's like that would light a fire in my belly.
100%. No, I mean it was. I was super inspired because that was the place, right?
Yeah.
And Trek had got involved as a sponsor, and obviously they were investing in the bikes, and everyone knows the iconic white and blue bikes. And
I mean, from struggling to, people show us consistency from there to that team. I mean, that's a meteoric.
It was a huge jump, yeah. It was a huge.
So they must have seen something really
yeah,
special.
I mean,
that's not just any team that you're bumping yourself into. Did you have to move geographically?
No, I would sort of commute, but yeah, I mean, I was, yes, I moved to Gandia, which is on the coast of Spain, south of Valencia.
Okay.
Near Calpe and all iconic places where people go and train now.
Also, big thing. Contract, obviously.
Huge.
I imagine that's a big
huge,
financial thing as well, right?
Huge. I mean, it was. I was getting paid as little as they could pay me, and it was the minimum commitment they could give to me. Which, in hindsight, if people pay you shit, they're gonna treat you like that, right?
There's an interesting little pill for anyone.
And Christian van der Velde was my contemporary, and I'd beat him at Worlds 2 years in a row. But he was American, and kind of you could feel that there was focus on building an American team, and so obviously strategically they built this thing around Lance, which was very tight. It was a very tight group. And I actually initially, I did Dauphiné, and I was actually on the peripheries of the group. But, and again, hindsight, ADD and super hyper focused, and I always believe myself more. And so if I feel like I'm not getting enough attention, I fight harder. And that can come across as quite abrasive, yeah. And so I got some results. I was top, I think I was first at Vuelta Burgos, and got absolutely hammered at the Vuelta España that year. I can remember like Frank van den Broek and Ulrich and like some iconic. If I think about pro racing, it's probably one of those days, like on a boulevard in autumn in Spain. I mean, Van den Broek used to go out in the evenings and go to the disco and take ecstasy and just come and win the next day. Like,
that's just like bonkers.
It was
You
wild.
can't imagine it.
It was wild. The late Frank van den Broek, because in the end, he killed himself. He was so depressed. Yeah.
Crazy era.
Yeah.
Not all it's cracked up to be.
No,
Some
it
proper
was
downsides.
wild, and there was a lot going on, and obviously, again, from that era, Pantani dead, Claudio Jimenez dead, Frank van den Broek dead, Ulrich, so on and on and on. So it was tough. It was, so there was a lot going on.
High stakes.
Yeah. Anyway, I managed to sign another year, and again, the desire for me to be was higher than what they saw for me, and it didn't progress. It wasn't good for me. But they went on to win 7 Tour de France. So what am I? Who am I?
Sure.
And then after that, it was always just a little bit frustrating because I never, I went to Vini Caldirola after that, and if you think how hard cycling is, it's not just about, like, I've never been lazy or had difficulty doing the work. But if people can't relate to you and you can't express yourself, how do I know you? Or what your qualities are, or are you a leader, or can you read a race, or so there's a lot of sort of prejudgment.
Got you.
And then would box you with a Russian or a Polish guy, or it's like you were just a foreigner.
That language barrier, huge then.
So it was huge, and then so I learned to speak Italian like a child in this team, because I can remember getting to 10 o'clock and be like, oh God, I can't anymore.
Yeah.
And so what my incredible gift is that I learned to speak a language fluently, semi-fluently, pretty well.
I don't have any Italian to test you. I'm going to take your word for it.
Yeah, and then so I kind of bounced around, did a couple more Olympics. And then at the time, also Tour de Langkawi was, like, we did the first one. Again, Doug Ryder, myself, Jacques Foulard. And then Tour de Langkawi grew into this, actually quite iconic. It was in February, and it was like a pre-season thing. And I had an affinity for it, obviously, because I could train here, and it was hot, and it was a national team. And so Langkawi, I always had a good result there, and actually I won the Tour de Langkawi in, can't remember. And there was this, I'll find the picture, iconic climb to Genting Highlands, which is a casino at the top of a mountain. And there was always this ding-dong battle between Gianni Savio. He was like they used to call him the Piccolo Principe. He had like a moustache. He was the real Italian, I wouldn't say mafiosi, but who found Egan Bernal, and he would go and find these Colombian and South American talent.
Okay.
And he would always bring them to the Tour de Langkawi, and so there was always like a South African team versus Selle Italia Colombia at the time.
Oh, that's epic, man.
Get goosebumps. Tony Harding was the manager, and like we had Geers, like we and in fact we won 2 because the late Ryan Cox also won won, and I think Ryan might have won one too. But in those years, it was a big deal, right? And so I won a Tour de Langkawi, came back here, won my third or fourth Giro del Capo. That was always a big focus for me. But it kind of wasn't going forwards with a bunch of momentum. And then the advent of Barlow World, incredible story, right? Barlow World in Catherine Street in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
It was iconic South African company like Dimension Data that grew when there was this incredible growth in the country to a global powerhouse. And so there was a bit of a French involvement. Jeff Kenney, again, who does commentary for the Tour de France still today, he does the post-race commentary. John Robertson, Barlow World, did a sort of French program. And we progressed quite quickly, actually. And then I pulled in some of the contacts I had made, Alberto Eli. And then the next year it became Barlow World Valsier. Igor Astaloho was world champion, was racing for the team. And so we grew into a sort of second tier Pro Tour team.
And that is an era that I look back on, not knowing it, but fondly. There was this and I use the word golden intentionally, era of big corporates, big money, proper teams. And there's that, is it HSC?
HSBC.
HSBC,
Yeah.
I've seen that kit.
Yeah,
there was just this, now, I mean, I can't think, in the time that I've been around, the elite properly run teams, branded, everyone's on the same bike type of thing. DMS, Honeycomb, TEG to a point, come and go. But these are guys that are spending stupid sums of money to be involved, that are not small businesses, but they're not a bank.
Sure.
It's not HSBC. It's not, Barlow World. It's not, and that was when I hear people talk about this era, it was just one, people could make good money, some more than others. People could earn a good living, and they could race here, and they went abroad and they won shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so Barlow World grew into a Tour de France team, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Geraint Thomas, Chris Froome.
Yeah.
Both won Tour de France. So that was the genesis. But then I guess it's a reflection of our economy, because it was just capital flight, right? So everyone kind of left the country because, in early 10 years of post-apartheid, our economy grew exponentially. And so these sort of great companies grew and had profits to spend on sport. And hopefully that'll come back at some point. But so then Barlow World kind of grew, and then that again, there's a patterns like Dave pushed a little harder, didn't get seen, bit of frustration, and so and then I did one more year at Spanish team, Relax. What a dog show! Yeah. Great experience. They're lovely people, and I lived in Spain another year, lived in Madrid another year. But we rode these Geos farm gates and time trial bikes. Talk about marginal losses. You had a 4-minute deficit, and it was, for me, that was mind blowing. Why would you go to the start of a race with a 4-minute deficit? Surely we're going to start on the same page. So there was this incredible frustration. I wasn't designed to live to be in that world. I was too thoughtful and too critical in my thinking to accept hierarchy and just doing shit because that was the way that we did it. I can remember being in the back of the car and driving to a race with the mechanic at Postal, and him saying, don't expect to get a new bike, don't expect to get a time trial bike, you're not going to get one of those. Just basically wind your neck in. And here's a bike from 2 years ago. Because obviously there's an incentive for them to keep the bikes so that they could sell them at the end of the year, the mechanics, whatever it was.
So many little things,
and those are all triggers for me. Now that I know, is wind your expectations back, right? And then my expectations get higher.
Just not designed that way.
I'm just not wired. A great friend of mine, Greg James, says, you were not fucking supposed to be a pro bike rider. anyway, so then that kind of I came back to SA, and there was still Doug was building MTN. It was his sort of growth. MTN became, or Microsoft became MTN, became Data.
And there's a very good story there. I mean,
100%. Yeah. You should get him to tell it.
Fantastic success story.
Anyway, and then again frustration, and so I won another Giro del Capo. 11 minutes 47 up to Signal Hill.
Yeah. Heard about this record.
And then that year, Cancellara was here, Michael Rogers. So there were some big names.
Yeah.
And then again, like it kind of fizzled, and this Epic thing came up, and it's like, who wants to go ride Epic? I was like, I'm just going to go ride this thing and have some fun, right?
Yeah, right.
Anyone want to do Epic with Dave? I looked around and they were like, oh, this idiot, he doesn't know anything about riding off-road. And eventually Rupert Rieder, who worked at Specialized for a long time and now lives in New Zealand, said, yeah, I'll do it. And so off we went to Nasa, and we started the Epic, and day one he was vomiting, and then day two he was done. Kevin will tell you, for Mark will tell you the story because he remembers it clearly. And then day two it was like, well, Rupert's out, and at the time Christoph Sauser, his partner, I think it was Silvio Bundi, who was at Gravelburn now, nice guy. He was out, and then he was like, I'm here, I'm training for the season, can I continue to race?
Yeah.
And in those days, they were like, oh, you ride together, cool, off you go. But you can't win a stage, and you can't be part of the overall, but you can race.
Yeah.
And so then there's Dave in Specialized kit. I'll find the picture.
I watched the DVD. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing you in Spez. Anything.
And Benno was the mechanic, and Bobby was the manager, because Bobby was a triathlete, and then he was the manager of the team, and obviously he grew fond of the country, and so that was the genesis of Epic, and finished the race with Susie, and we were there at the finish every day with Jose Amida and like the real Dutchman, Olympic champion, Bart Brenchens. Jakob Vogelsang, Roel Paulson, yeah.
And were you having fun?
I had an absolute joy. So mountain biking for me was like being a kid again.
Yeah. No so pressure, just go ride the bike.
Fun, yeah. Just
but
cool.
You happen to be at the front of the field.
Yeah, I mean that's just how I'm wired. And then a couple of years, obviously, built a partnership out with Kevin, and managed to get him to kind of lose a bit of weight and take it a bit more seriously, because he was a bit short.
I really enjoyed that DVD. How many copies of that do you have? For anyone that wants to nostalgically go and just, it's a flippin' cool, I look at it now and it's almost as if it was intentionally shot. I suppose that was state of the art then.
Yeah.
But I told you, I'm still a DVD person. Like I keep them, it's a flippin' good story, that. I really enjoyed that, and it colours in a hell of a lot.
And the beauty of it was we never won.
And I didn't realise
it was always about the failure. Like we fell, and like it was.
That's a proper story.
Yeah.
The part in the video where you hit in the back of him.
Yeah.
And that's just like, no, you look
macerated my elbow. Like
how you've continued to even go into that is ridiculous. And then he lands up proper bailing. I mean, he
breaks his collarbone.
And it's just like, and again, you continue, ride, perform. It's a very, 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 very cool DVD for anyone that wants to go to get
James Walsh probably has it on, and they followed us for a year, and it was quite insightful actually, because Nedbank was sponsoring us at the time, and they invested in that, right? So whatever they spent $1 million on the team, they spent $1 million making this thing.
Yeah. So did they? Do you know if they ever realized value from that? Did they see
100%? Yeah, 100%.
Because that was like, him on the trainer, his kid there. It's like, it's so real.
Yeah.
You don't see that.
No.
It's one thing, like we can all, and we do, thank God for people like Max Sully and all the other incredible media people involved. You see cool shit from Epic, which is great. I'm far more interested in that backstory and everything else around it. And I think you go to Clarence training camp. that shit in there, just like, loved it.
Yeah.
That is absolute gold. I really, really enjoyed watching that. Thank you for sharing that.
Great
copy.
picture. I mean, I guess nowadays we have social media and Instagram and phones, and so people are capturing moments, but
with the
are they all
60-second
authentic,
attention
right?
span.
Yeah.
Like there's no story there. You can't tell a story in 60 seconds. You can sell a perk, you can pique interest, you can make someone laugh. And it's, there's a place for that. But that for me was like, that was flipping cool. That is a really, really nice touch. I'm glad they did that, because that's who does that anymore.
Correct, yeah.
We want to, we will, but
we need to get it to YouTube
that was
or
good.
something, yeah.
And that was the start, it would appear, of an era, and also of an incredible business. I had no idea that was his shop, Bike Shop Plate, is, I love that place. Like, it's saved my ass on a few trips, and it's just like, I love that place. What an epic store. And it didn't, until that moment, connect, because he like leans into how that thing starts in that video as well, in that DVD, and it's just like, incredible.
And we had a really good relationship, because we could intuitively understand each other. And Kevin like wouldn't say anything until it was over. So I had to read him and ask him, but we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can see that.
We enjoyed it, and we built a really special relationship. Yeah, and then 2012. At the time, there was lots of they were chasing lines, and they would come test me off, and eventually I had a positive test. And that was obviously like I went from there, like Dave the bike rider, to zero, right? And so lost my identity and lost my singular focus, and that was obviously a really tough moment. And if I look back to people couldn't get out of that. A lot of them didn't get out of my contemporaries. There was a lot going on at the time, and we'll talk about that another day. But that was a really, really tough period. Just before my children were born, and I had to make some tough calls. Like, am I going to continue to tie myself in knots here, or are we just going to carry on?
No manual for that one, right?
No, there was no manual for that one. And then, so like in hindsight, I am incredibly grateful for that experience, because I would have continued to fuck around in the sport, like I might have gone and done other things in the sport, and maybe been a team leader and a manager, and it was like a forced reboot. So lots of introspection, obviously and at the time it was the sort of rise of social media, and lots of keyboard warriors, and so lots of introspection, and obviously like for me that was like I need to just hide from this attention, and so I went and found something to do in the corner of Woodstock, we opened a bike shop. And then because we'd create a nice high profile, and my partner now, Justin Tuck, wanted to buy the bike that we were riding, and so he'd come to Cape Town to buy a bike, and I had in my head there was a company in the US called Pro's Closet, who were sort of reselling bikes and overstocked bikes, and so they built a web page. They did really well until they didn't. And so the concept was to build a sort of second-hand trading platform. Hindsight, it was a cock idea. So Just came to town, and his uncle heard from someone, and we had a meeting. And in my head, I never wanted to take people out of the industry. I wanted to create this new thing. So I didn't want a technician to come from a bike shop, because they were all average. And Just had worked on diesel engines and generators his whole life, so he was a real artisan. and he'd been overweight for most of his life, and Tread ran Sean Barnes ran a challenge like a month, like ride your bike for a month challenge, and he rode his bike for a month, and then suddenly he found this.
The hook gets you.
Yeah, exactly, which is amazing, which is what we're about, as a business today, is that hook, and so then we had a conversation. He was like, "I'm done, I'm coming." So 2 weeks in his car, with his tools, and a set of golf clubs. I never saw him use the golf clubs, and a homemade set of rollers. And he was in his car, and off he came to Cape Town. And 2 weeks later, we were open in the back end of Woodstock, next to the Urinal. Like the people would get off the train and piss on the wall, like it smelled like pee.
Yeah.
And there was a guy selling knickknacks and Kit Kats outside the shop, and it was rough. And I guess it was just a reflection of me going somewhere and doing something that wasn't in the attention of people. Anyway, we grew, and we still have some of those customers today. Grew into a business, and then at some point we realized I realized I can't scale secondhand, because you come in and you want to buy a bike, I got nothing to give you. You're 56 and I'm going to, and South Africans want to sell their own shit. So like class ads is a South African culture. Like you want to sell something yourself.
Yeah.
So there was too much. When I sell my bike, I'm expecting to get 60, and I know you're going to get 40, and so we had to negotiate with you. And anyway, and then at a certain point, I realized what do we have to offer? And it was our experience, right? It was our love for the sport, and people were coming for that. Anyway, so we moved to where we are now today, our first location to Mowbray, and then quite quietly grew our business and got an understanding of who we were, and it was rough and raw, and we didn't borrow any money. We were just hacking, but we grew a really good following in this sort of workshop, and we really tried hard to keep our customers happy. And then Just said I want to do Epic, and we did Epic together, and we were top 20, which was really cool because he's from nothing, right? He was 100
That's amazing.
Something kilos, and he's just this incredible talent to this day. And so that was really rewarding, because it kind of I sort of refound my love for riding the bike, and it wasn't focused, and we probably weren't doing intervals, and we were training. Like I've never stopped riding my bike, and that was super rewarding, seeing Just get that kind of result. And then we did another couple of years, and then in 2020, COVID year, we were in great shape. Justin was in great shape. We were both 40, and so we were like, let's do the Masters thing, and we're going to win the Masters. Just was in amazing shape. Yeah, I was a bit worried that year because he's a good talent. And then COVID happened, right? And that was it. Like we were like great shape. We did all our customers to sign on for service packages, and that was like a really tough period, because it was like, oh fuck, now what? So I can remember shutting the shutters at the store and going home and like, what are we doing?
Yeah, when am I rolling those up again?
And then obviously the irony was that everyone was at home. What do we do? Give me a kicker. Everyone wanted a roller. Everyone wanted a home trainer, and so there was this mass. Have you got a home trainer? Have you got a home trainer? I don't know if you can remember that.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It was like.
Oh, I'll put up a picture of how deep we went on our pain cave. It's obsessive.
And like whatever home trainer you had, it was cigarettes in prison. It was a commodity. I can remember the home trainers we coupled together for people. Yeah, exactly. And people were at home, and then like the doors open, and like you can exercise at a certain time, and people were like, I'm riding to work, and they had service certificates, and but it was an incredible time for humanity, because we stopped and we went home, and we started to exercise, and people were concerned about their health, and then like take your kids to the park, and they would ride, and then I'm going to get a bike, and then they got a bike, and then they got a bike, and the roads were closed, and so let's go ride our bikes. So it was incredible. Like, so, ironically, when we were panicking about this thing that was about to happen, And then shutters came up, and at the time they were giving us sort of unsecured loans. You didn't have to tie your house to the bond. So we're like, we applied for this loan, and Investec said, "Oh, you've got a good business." Actually, they weren't giving it to people who needed it; they were giving it to people who could pay it back.
Sure. It's kind of how it always works.
Correct. And so we got this loan. It was insignificant because we probably didn't need it, but what it gave us was confidence to say, okay, cool, let's buy some more bikes.
Take a swing.
And Trek were busy swapping to a subsidiary business, and bikes would come, and we would grab 10, and then we would grab 20. And, because we'd managed our account well, and we had a good relationship with them, and it really turbocharged our business. And so we really had the kind of wind in our sails through COVID. So that lots of momentum, and then at the time, Noel was a bit fatigued at Trail and Tar, where we are in Takai, and we had an idea to go and sort of grab that location, and when he was ready to no longer run Trail and Tar, we grabbed the location. And open up Takai, and then again we had just this great momentum in a time that was super abundant for bikes. Great time for bikes, right?
Yeah, make hay while the sun shines.
But then the supply demand story, right? It's the best case story for supply demand. Like suddenly people went back to work, and got back to reality. Went back to the office. They weren't hanging out in bike shops all the time. It was cool because people come during the day, and hang out at the bike shop. And so then because you would come and say, hey, I want to buy that bike there, but I couldn't give it to you. You would go to the store down there and you say, I want to buy that bike there. And so we all had this false sense of demand.
Yeah.
It wasn't real. And so this like mass ordering frenzy happened, and the bike industry is terrible because it's a 2-year lead time.
Yeah.
So they were ordering things 2 years in advance, right? And so Shimano, for example, is first in, first out. And so that meant you put your deposit in today for 2 years.
Yes, that is.
And so when the demand dropped, the bikes just kept coming. No one said, like, we need to stop making bikes. And so, like, the story is documented, like, in countries around the world. The bikes would be at the harbour, and they were paying the demurrage because they had nowhere to put the bikes. The warehouse was full, so where do we put these things? So they went from 0 bikes, 0 interest, full margin, empty warehouses, no rent,
to completely overstocked.
Like warehouses full. Suddenly there was an inflation environment.
Second-hand markets completely hammered.
And so you went from like completely under high demand, low supply to like the opposite.
Yeah.
And then there was just this completely overstocked position. So that's kind of it's taken us a couple of years to like there's more people ride for sure post COVID. We have more customers. And,
100%.
The world is a better place, but Escape Collective did a story on it. Like, you're not growing this market by 10% every year. Like, it's the same amount of people leave the sport, die, or get old as young people coming in, and maybe there's a little. So it was an unrealistic expectation of growth. And the bike industry got greedy, right? And so so then there was this massive abundance of bikes, and so that's taken us a couple of years to get out of that. But we've managed our business through the tough times, and like through the journey I read a book, Traction. If anyone who's an entrepreneur wants to run their business in a good way, Traction. It's an amazing book. So I read Traction, and then it's like, I need to do this thing, and we found an EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating Systems implementer, Chris Goldman, who's an absolute mensch. And so we started to run our organization with structure and purpose. It's super simple, but that gave me focus. So I go back to like old Dave, where it was like a training program and 90-day goals and 1-year plan and a 3-year plan and a 10-year plan. So suddenly I had vision again. Whereas I was being reactive in the business, whereas nowadays we have a long range goal, and we have a 3-year goal, and we have a 1-year goal, and we have a 90-day plan, training plan. And so we've grown our business with purpose, and then I've always enjoyed getting the best out of people, and I like to think that even when riders were around me and I was mentoring other riders, Nick Lamini, or that I had the affinity or enjoy it to lead and get the best out of people. So that for me has been like really, really strong. So we chase the number and we want more stores, and but I get an absolute like buzz out of seeing a 19, 20-year-old that comes into the business that maybe doesn't know what they want to do, that comes in and learns how to sell and communicate, and you just see the growth in people.
Yeah.
And so that for me is super rewarding. So like the two things that really have been the change for me in the business is, why do we do what we do, right? And it's the hook. Right? Once you're hooked, and that's not that like we're intentionally trying to hook people so we can sell to them. It's we want your community that you cultivate downstairs in your coffee shop, the space, the people that you resonate with, the way you clear your head, keeps you healthy, keeps you focused.
It's just like baked in purpose.
Exactly, and so that's really where we put all of our focus. Like we also sell bikes and we sell stuff, but it's about that and
those
teaching.
things happen to deliver a really good lifestyle change to people.
100%.
Like your partner, that's
100.
my story, and it's many others.
And I see it, I mean, just to like a couple of stories, and I tell them often is Paul and Robin. Robin had breast cancer, and for her, the way to deal with this thing was, I'm going to go buy 2 bikes, I'm going to put them there, and when I'm done, I'm going to go ride that bike. And so they came in and bought 2 bikes, and it was like super powerful for me. Like another customer resigned, and then he walked out the building, like gardening leave, like take a shit, get out. Bag full, pencil case, out the building, straight to the bike shop. How am I going to spend the next 6 months? So those stories, those are stories we like to tell, because that's why we're in business. And then again, for me, like this incredible gift that you can give to kids. Like being entrepreneurial is underrated, and we don't teach communication. We don't teach understanding business and being entrepreneurial, and how important is that in this country, right?
Critical.
Especially with the BE laws, and so it's super important to be entrepreneurial now. And I think kids learn more nowadays being in a business than they do at university, and we take it super seriously.
Preaching to the choir, 100% right. And those are the things that are anchoring you at the moment, and the future are we've got 6 minutes left. I feel like we could go in each one of these things.
And you said nothing.
For another. No, it's such probably the greatest privilege I have is being able to sit here and just listen. How often do you ever sit and listen? When you sit here, it's an hour and a half, it's 2 hours where you don't always agree with what's being said. You don't necessarily always resonate with the person that you're sitting with. Okay, more often than not, I do.
Yeah.
But you get to just listen. And while you're listening, you can think and you can process, and I think that's why this platform works.
100%.
A lot of people are, I didn't know Spotify would be as engaged as it is, so there's no visual cues there, you're just listening. It's a long time to listen to someone else talk about something. While you're listening, if you are listening, it's such a rare moment in your day. Like if you think how often in a 7-day week are people listening? You can ask my wife, never. Because you're so distracted. When you sit and you lock in something like this, it might be whatever it is, the doors rolling down and the onslaughts of COVID and how that turned into positive. It could be, your shop starting next to the wall that people peed on, with a knick-knack reseller next to it. Like there's so many different parts of that story, and you never know. It's like I'm just sitting here. There's all these little shoots that have gone off. So It's
is
great
also
to just sit and
privilege,
listen.
yeah.
It's a privilege to sit and just listen. But there is a lot more depth to this, and for anyone that isn't aware, we have every intention to go and explore it much deeper, in a different way than what we've done in the past on the Active Hobo. So we will stay tuned and subscribe, because we do fully intend to unpack that. But yeah, I suppose the most important question is what the future holds for you, and is it here? Does it stay here? Like when I see you expanding, one of the only people that you know of popping up a new store in one of the most competitive landscapes there is, and it's like commercial whatever. Dave plans to stay. His team plans to stay. There's a future view for this place that I love, South Africa. That to me is really important. That's signaling intent. When I see Marble come and set up a multi-million rand restaurants in V&A, these are pioneers, these are champions that plan to stay. And that to me says a lot.
Yeah, and it's tough, right? I mean, we second guess ourselves like all the time. I mean, I do. I have lots of introspection about should we stay or should we go. It's our culture, right? It's normal to live 500 meters from your house. It's not normal for your brother to be in Canada and the other one to be in Australia. Like we have this, unfortunately, this. So it is normal to live near your parents, and that's unfortunately where our country, our sort of white Anglo-Saxon culture ended up fragmented. We're super invested in the country. We have a lofty plan. We always have a lofty plan. And again, for me, the more it's not about the money, it's about the people in the business. The more I want to do more, right? The more I want to give some more. And yeah, so it's super. I find it incredibly rewarding and inspiring. And I think this is incredible. We've said it before. I think you just need to go a little deeper, but this is an incredible platform. I think to like build the culture back. Like we need to bring them in. We need to bring the CSA and maybe some of the leaders in and just get them to think like, where do we take this thing? How do we bring it all together? Imagine if Alan and Byron and Stefan and Anne, if I'm forgetting you, sorry, were all on the same team. Doug, Doug just missed that rider. Like,
our goals. I'm frustrated by dreaming, and I'm more moved by doing. And I know. So I look forward to exploring the going deeper thing with you, because you're going to be our test case for that, and we're hoping it's cinema and it's baked in purpose and it's valuable to people, but it will be part of what we're referring to our hero series. So we have taken on that criticism. We'll see how that goes. I look forward to it. And with regards to everything else, like we're trying to create a platform. We know a few things that we know. We don't know everything. And where bring CSA. Put the super team together, much like you put a team of the right people together to achieve World Tour results, create business growth, whatever it is. I know what we're trying to do. I know that I can't do all of it. I know Alec has his limits, Rechard has his limits. Like, we know a few things, but what we know more than anything is we can get the right people into the room. We can bring Dave, who's supercharged and can be abrasive and can say it like it is, that can get through to there. So it's, we
don't
will
actually need to know the thing. You need people to tell their story and to tell their thing, to give their thing. And so create the platform for people to come and tell their story and share a vision. Maybe there's a vision, maybe there's a collaborative vision. I'm hoping that kids are watching this in the industry, they can go, fuck, I want to go work for that guy. Because if you have an affinity for working in the bike industry, come to us.
Well, I hope that and many other positive things come your way.
Awesome.
Dave, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
I look forward to getting into this bike at some point, to coming and telling deeper stories. And you can rest assured we'll be doing a lot more of those with you. Thank you for coming through. Thanks for your time.
Great pleasure. Thank you.